do you say, everybody? And Roll Tide, welcome to Elephant in the Room, part of Roll Tide Pods and Disrupt the Media. He's Jake Coker, and I'm Mick Gillispie. We're going to talk some Alabama football. It feels like an off week. It almost feels like a bye. Alabama playing Chattanooga, but the Mocs aren't a bad team. They're not going to beat Alabama on Saturday, but for their division in football, they're not a slouch. But they're going to run into a Bama team that'll have better athletes at most positions. We're going to talk about that. The college football playoff, obviously not a lot's changed there, and a bunch more. But what I want to remind you guys, if you're as hot as I am right now, 5 straight wins, picking games, you need to take your money and your luck to MyBookie. MyBookie.ag, 50% price match on up to $1,000 at MyBookie.ag. There's a ton of stuff to gamble on. College football, maybe NFL football, maybe the NBA, maybe college basketball. I gave someone a tip the other day. I said, hey, Alabama basketball, it's like they're playing South Alabama. It's like, I don't know, like a 20-point spread. I would take USA. Alabama won by 56. Don't ever listen to me when I talk basketball. But I'm just kidding. MyBookie, well, maybe not, but MyBookie.ag is really a great place to get started if you just enjoy throwing them out there. Did you see any of that hoops game? It was like 56 with a team I'd never heard of before, besides Sears and a couple other dudes.
You just threw out South Alabama basketball, taking them over Alabama. I love Richie Riley in South Alabama. They're, hometown team, but I don't know if you saw this. They lost to the University of Mobile 2 weeks ago.
I was just joking. We were, the truth is this, is that we were all just I've been on this work retreat, and we've been up in the mountains of Gatlinburg, and we were just going through because they were going to play in Tennessee. You can just, you can get an app and bet, just like MyBookie.ag. But it's even more legal here. It's just a different setup. And everyone was talking about the, Duke, Kansas, and what was the other game? Michigan State and like North Carolina or something. Whatever the two games were, everybody was talking about them. And then Bama was playing South Alabama. And I'm like, man, Alabama always struggles against South Alabama, and I don't even recognize these guys.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know I'm looking at the score, 102-46.
And then Bama was just like clobbering them. And you remember the times, like there's been a lot of times where, teams in the state get a chance to play Alabama and they played the best game of the season. That's not what happened. That's not what happened there on Tuesday.
Yeah, I went to the South Alabama basketball game last year here in Mobile, and South Alabama, they got beat, I think 10, 20 points, something like that, but they at least kept it respectable. You lose by more than double your score, man. That's a rough look. But again, South Alabama has usually been pretty good, but when you not only lose to some of your in-state schools, but your in-city schools that are way smaller than you, it's going to be a rough year.
Do you ever wonder why, or maybe why? What's the deal with not playing the teams that are in your state in football? Why? Like this weekend, you got an interesting matchup in Mississippi, right? The coachless Bulldogs from Starkville against Southern Miss, right? Yeah. And it's like, cool. Hey, look, like Alabama plays Southern Miss, but they don't play UAB. They don't play South Alabama. They don't play Troy. And I know why. The reason why is because, in a game like this, right, where you're playing Chattanooga and you're basically helping pay for their football department. You don't want to help someone that could eventually jump up and get you, and compete on your level like Auburn, right? But on the other side of that, like it would be interesting to see Bama play Troy once in a while.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. If you're going to play a small school, you might as well play a school that is in your state. But then again, Troy didn't help themselves when they beat LSU a few years ago, and just the thought of Troy, even though I know the chances are small, but if a Troy beats an Alabama, and they probably could beat Auburn this year, it'd be a tough recruiting tool when you got those in city or hometown guys around Troy. You say, well, heck, we just beat Auburn. Why don't you just stay at home and come to school with us? It'd be a tough look for the Tigers. I think it's more so a problem for Auburn than it is Alabama.
Yeah. Well, like UAB, no one's going to play UAB. Can you imagine, like, and I know, look, Alabama doesn't want to have a real game this week. I mean, really, you don't. I mean, you want to be just kind of a scrimmage game. But from the interest aspect, it would be a lot more fun for us to talk about Alabama against UAB or Alabama against Troy or Alabama against South Alabama than it is Chattanooga.
Oh, yeah, and I'd love for Alabama to come right down the road and play, here in Mobile.
Yeah.
I'd say it would be that. Now that stadium would be packed. I mean, to the top deck. You wouldn't be able to move in that place if Alabama was to come here, and we finally got a new stadium, not playing in Ladd anymore. It'd be fun to go to Troy, check out, see what Troy's all about, see what it's like on a weekend where it's packed out and full, and there's tailgates everywhere. I think that'd be a great way to get the entire state involved in one athletic event. I'd love to see it. But, yeah, it'd give us a lot more to talk about. Chattanooga, I don't know much about them. I mean, my biggest goal out of this weekend, or hopefully my biggest takeaway, is that everybody leaves the field healthy.
Yeah. And I guess that's a great transition. Hey, I want to remind you guys, though, as we talk Alabama football, that if you need help with your picks, you need to check out our guy, Lance, at Lance's Lock. Lance Taylor from the Next Round, amazing handicapper, amazing sharp. I mean, he knows all about every game. He pays so much attention to it. I love listening to the logic that he has. And as you play the NBA or you play college basketball or the college football games as we head into the postseason here and down the stretch and who's going to win. And there's a lot of upsets that I feel like could happen this weekend. I think this is the weekend where things start to kind of turn, and you need some help with those picks. lanceslock.com. All right, let's transition. Staying healthy. Jake, staying healthy in a game like this.
This is one of those games, and I still remember I can't remember who it was. I know it was a smaller school, and when I was at Florida State, somebody got hurt, and I'll always remember Jimbo saying, these are the games that make me worry the most, and not guys tend to get hurt when they're playing guys that are smaller than them, and just because they usually kind of get in the way. More so, it's heavy competition. Guys are falling, getting thrown around, and you got people around your feet, and it's kind of awkward. When you play teams that aren't physically on the same level as you, or talent-wise not on the same level as you, they kind of tend to get in the way, and things aren't where they're supposed to be. You're practicing against guys who are, every day that are equal in terms of talent and physicality, and then you go out on a Saturday and you're playing guys that you can push around, and bodies aren't where they're supposed to be. It lends itself to having more injuries just because it's not the routine ball you're used to playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I probably should ask you about. I remember when Alabama played Mercer, and there were a couple injuries in that game few years ago, and what I was hearing is that they weren't where they were supposed to be, and I was like, where are they supposed to be? I mean, what does that even mean, right? I mean, you're just running around in a circle somewhere and you get in somebody's way. I mean, it's where the football is, where you're supposed to be. Explain what that means when people say that.
Yeah, when the O-line's coming off the ball and they're getting a push or even pass blocking, I'd say it's more so for the guys up front. I mean, you're run blocking and a guy that you're used to just kind of pushing out of the way for running back. Well, you're blowing him down the line, throwing him around the feet of the right tackle or the left tackle, and the fullback's coming through the hole trying to lead block and you got somebody around his feet, he's trying to maneuver around him, and it just is very chaotic up front.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got guys that you're kind of tossing around and really it's like just a bunch of speed bumps all over the field.
When did you guys have a situation where you were running into those speed bumps? In a game that I might have seen stand in your mind?
I'm trying to think. I would say the tendency, it typically is more frequent when you play the teams that you're just way more dominant than. And they don't stick out really because most of the time you're scoring a lot more points than them, and it's not a game that you've got circled on the schedule. It's one that you're going to go out there, and coach is going to be pissed if we don't beat them by 35 points. And so you go out there, you focus, you get it done, and move on. So I in terms of remembering a specific game, no, but I can tell you if I looked at the schedule from a few years back, I could tell you which games they were.
Right. Do you ever feel like in a game like this, and obviously this game doesn't even have a spread, so it's not the same thing, but I always kind of felt like there were certain games where Coach Saban was going to you guys weren't covering the spread, like a huge spread, and it just wasn't going to happen. Like he was going to call off the dogs early or just be kind of, pretty plain with the game calling. Was that ever the case? I mean, were you ever on the field going, he's probably we're only going to score so many points today, or you kind of get the feeling during the game like, all right, yeah, you just know it's over. Like you're just going to hand it off, and the guy's just going to dive every time.
I think when the twos are in and you're trying to run the clock out, I think unless the defense is showing playing cover zero or bringing a lot of pressures, being very aggressive. I think when it gets to a certain point, even the opposing team is ready to, kind of pack it in and go home with no injuries. So I think everybody kind of realizes, all right, we're going to run the clock out, make the defense. We're just going to make tackles. We're not trying to, pressure the quarterback or kill any running backs. We're just getting out of here at this point. Game's out of reach. Usually that late third quarter to fourth quarter when you're up by 35 points, you kind of get that notion that, all right, we're good, kind of a gentleman's handshake.
Right. Yeah, we're just here to collect the check, and the money's already in the bank. So we'll see you guys later.
That's right.
Good hanging, everybody. I wonder if these kind of games are going to go away? Like they talked about it. Like if college football turns into, like an NFL schedule. Because one of the biggest differences between the NFL and college is that you do play games like this. Chattanooga has less than a 1% chance of winning, right? I don't see any scenario where they could win this football game, but it benefits their program to come in, get a check. Their kids get the experience of playing against Alabama. Alabama puts a game on the schedule that is perfect between Kentucky and then the Iron Bowl. But there's a lot of people that don't like it. Look, if you were paying a bunch of money to have a ticket package, and you're paying the prices that it costs to go to these games now, this would be one that you're like, hey, give this to the neighbors with all the kids and let them go take their kids for the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Personally, I didn't. Here's the thing. I've got a lot of respect for anybody who earns a D1 scholarship or any coach that's coaching anywhere in the country. I respect their effort. I respect, what they do, the hard work they put in. So I hate to even speak remotely bad about those programs, but when I was playing, I enjoyed playing football and being around the guys and football was great, but I didn't necessarily look forward to playing Florida Atlantic when you got Tennessee next week or the big name school. I mean, you go to Alabama to play the Auburns, the Tennessees, the LSUs, the Floridas. So again, when I was playing, I love those big games, and I felt like I would have rather played let's play Notre Dame this week instead of and really challenge ourselves and play somebody with it's going to take everything we got to win. Rather than play a game that I feel like doesn't carry a whole lot of weight in the college football world.
Right. No, and I get that. I mean, that's and when you're not playing, you're not at your brain isn't at 100%. Sometimes that lends you to get hurt, because you're not as focused. It's like when you go into a game and you're like, well, I don't want to get hurt, and you play not to get hurt, then you get hurt. I don't know why things like that happen. Maybe it's just superstition, but
yeah. I mean, look, when I was at Florida State, I mean, it was crazy the difference between that atmosphere in the ACC versus the SEC. And I know, I know you're fond of Maryland and love your Terps, but
I never said they were good. I just they're all right. They're all right.
There was again, there was in the ACC, there was really only 3 games you circled. You knew were going to be packed out crowds. You had Florida, Miami, and Clemson, and we were lucky to get Oklahoma on the schedule one year while I was there. But when you played your NC States or your Marylands or the teams that didn't have that historical program, you didn't get up like you got up for a Clemson or a Florida or Miami. And even Miami, it was correct. When we played it in Miami, I mean, they were pretty bad when I was coming through. I mean, I say that they weren't respected like they were in the 80s or 90s, and they weren't respected like they are now. They were, it was a rougher time for them, but they didn't fill up their stadium at all. And I don't know what it's like. I've heard that that's kind of the norm for Miami, but the SEC is just a different atmosphere.
Yeah, right.
It's completely different.
Yeah, and and that's what makes it great. I mean, going to Kentucky and watching that game last week and just seeing all the people in that stadium to watch football. I know they're a basketball. They got the reputation as a basketball school, but I've had success playing football too. I got a lot of respect for them. But I love that. I love that South Carolina is packed out. Missouri is that offshoot to me. If we could go back and remake that decision, I would much rather have taken West Virginia over Missouri, but they are having a good football season this year.
Yeah. Well, their first 2 years in the SEC, I believe they were in the SEC championship.
They were.
They were in the SEC championship in 2014 as well.
And that's crazy to think about. But that's also because the East was so bad there for a while.
I mean, the East was absolutely awful back then. I mean, Georgia was no good. Florida, I think, was decent. Well, that's when they were going through the Charlie Strong and the Will Muschamp days, and I don't even know. South Carolina wasn't very good. Tennessee was not good. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there was not much competition over there.
Not like it is now. I mean, Georgia's kind of become Alabama until they play Alabama in 2 weeks, and then they're going to be Georgia again.
That's right.
But we can't talk. We got the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
And is that you in Georgia?
That's Georgia, baby. The rain game.
I was there. That molded my boots. It's the most rain I've ever seen in one stadium before. I mean, like it felt like when I was leaving that stadium that I was in a fountain. Like the water was coming down the stairs.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Did you see game day when Pat McAfee was singing the song with
Yeah, I loved it.
What's his name? I'm glad that they realize how obnoxious and ridiculous they are.
Yeah.
At least they can, they understand that.
Did you see where McAfee is saying that he might not go back to game day, or at least I read that, and I don't know if anything's changed. I mean, this was like last week, but there was a poll, or maybe people didn't like him on there, which I can't understand because I think he's the best part about the show now. that he might not go back. He might not sign a contract to go back there. I can't imagine that.
Is this the last year of his contract?
I mean, that's what I read. I mean, and I don't know how, take everything you read with a grain of salt. I mean, do you really turn down game day? I mean, I just find him to be such a breath of fresh air, man. And I like those guys. I mean, we've been watching the same guys talk football for years, but the show kind of feels like it needs that. I enjoy him.
Well, you got to find if you replace it. I mean, the problem is Corso. I mean, that was the guy who kind of held
I know
he held the glue together just from an energy standpoint. And I mean, his picks. I've heard him talk about, or have you heard Herb Street talk about Corso's mentality on making picks? I mean, he's just like, they don't give a damn. You just pick what sounds good and be entertaining. And that's what he does. He brings life to it. And now I can't – McAfee, I feel like, brings all the energy now. And I don't know who they'd replace. Maybe Coach Saban's eyeing the expiration of that contract.
I like Coach Saban a lot, but I don't know that he has the charisma to be on TV like that every day. I would love to see him in a tank top out there, though.
Yeah. That changed the optics of the show, that's for sure.
Yeah. He's so funny. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not like the viewer that I used to be, but people still like it because you see him with all the signs and stuff. And did you see where LT from the next round dressed up like McAfee for Halloween?
I
like I was like, is this Eminem? Is this? Because he was Tupac last year. I was like, is this Eminem? And then I'm like, he comes out and he starts talking like him, and it was pretty funny. Like, it was good.
No, I hadn't seen that one.
It's pretty good. Like, it was pretty good. Look, nothing like him, but it was pretty good. Like, that's like. Did you do Tom and Jerry for Halloween like you were going to?
No, I lucked out. My father-in-law took over. So
okay.
Oh yeah. My daughter ended up being Elsa.
So, nice. You switched it up then. So what was your father-in-law?
He had that dinosaur.
Oh, the dinosaur. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was Spider-Man again. I've been Spider-Man a few years. A heavier Spider-Man this year, though.
I've never been
Spider-Man with a full belly.
What's that?
The Spider-Man that had just eaten. Oh man, are you ready for Thanksgiving?
Oh man, I can't wait. We're gonna have a different atmosphere for the background of the podcast next week. I actually have a lot to talk about on the Auburn game next week. So
I know. We'll get there. We got all next week. You're going to be out like at the hunting camp or something, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I can't wait to see what that's all about. I'll be back in the home studio again, and you'll be out in the woods. If you, maybe if you kill a deer, we can, get some pics of it or something.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I'll
something worth showing.
Yeah.
Don't bring us a spike. Don't bring us a spike on here.
No, I'm not doing that. But as far as killing a deer goes, it's not a matter of if, it's how many.
Okay. You got a good spot? Do you do all the cutting of the meat yourself, or do you take it somewhere? Do you process it yourself, or do you take it somewhere?
I don't process them myself. No, I mean, as far as making sausage and all that, no. I mean, I cut the back strap out and then get the hindquarters, the shoulders out, and get those processed. But I'm not making sausage myself. That's for sure.
You're not like I know people that'll like do their own ground deer and and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I've got some that got somebody else to do. I mean, I cleaned it, and then just took it prepared to them. But I'd jack that sausage up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that take a special skill set to do that.
Yeah, I can do the back straps myself, and then everything else, somebody's got to make that taste better.
I was at an event last night, a awards banquet last night, and they're like, "Hey, look outside!" And there was a black bear walking by. And I was like, "That's Gatlinburg has domesticated their black bears. Like this can't be how it really is. Like the thing was just like a dog walking by, and we saw one walking down the street the other day when one of our vans passed by it. Have you ever thought about going bear hunting? I mean, is that even a thing?"
No, I've seen it on TV. I've seen them, shoot them over the drums of like honey or whatever bait they got, and I don't know, like kind of like you said, that it seemed like killing a big dog. So I don't know. I'd rather just stick to the deer hunting and the turkey hunting.
Is that something that people eat, like bear meat? Because I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, people eat bears. Yeah, that's another thing. It'd be like eating a coyote to me. And maybe it's good. You can make anything taste good. I would
say. You? So like possum. I mean, I've heard people have eaten possum before.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one too.
Raccoons.
Let me tell you. If you're driving down the road and you see any animal that eats a dead animal, ass to mouth, I'll pass.
That's how I feel. I'm going to offend somebody. That's how I feel about catfish. And people love catfish. And I've been over to places before where my friends of mine have done like catfish fries, and they're actually really good. But the catfish to me are one of those things where you can't mess it up. I mean, if you mess it up, it's not going to be good. Like I feel like there's a fine line of getting catfish done the right way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of everything. It depends on what they're eating or where they are. I mean, I wouldn't eat a fish out of Dog River, and I'm going to offend some people, maybe even listen to the show. I know some people do, but I see what all waterways feed Dog River here in Mobile, and I'll pass on those fish too.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get a little bit deeper.
Get out there a little bit, let all that stuff come. All right. Well, I guess, since we're on the road here, we're going to keep it around a half hour, which is really tough for us to do, by the way. We're like,
well, I got some office pool picks, and I didn't perform too good last week. So,
all right, let's do it. Favorite part of the show.
So yeah, I'm interested to hear your take on this one. First one out of the gate, Georgia, Tennessee. Do you know the line on that one?
The line on that isn't it like 9?
Georgia minus 10.5.
10.5.
The line that I've got.
Okay. Yeah. So there's not many marquee games this week.
Yeah.
And after Tennessee got dismantled and embarrassed at Missouri last week, maybe they were looking ahead to this game. And I feel like Georgia's kind of played a little bit better than they are recently, which is fine with me because Alabama needs them to win out so that when, Alabama beats them in the SEC championship game, if they take care of Auburn, they're going to the college football playoff. And I know that Georgia's due a loss. I mean, the greatest teams in SEC history have gotten to this point and lost. They're eventually going to lose. Tennessee's at home. They're coming off an embarrassing loss. I know Joe Milton struggles, but man, I like a home dog. I mean, this is a tough game because I could see Tennessee getting worn out in this game, but 10 points for Tennessee. Man, I don't know. I really wouldn't want to bet this, but I would probably take the home dog.
That's where you cannot tell me. I mean, this is where my theory for the year, I mean, if I'm going by that theory, you have got to take Tennessee. I mean, Georgia's been at least a 14-point favorite pretty much all year against these. I mean, Kentucky's, Missouri, who they played last week, Florida a few weeks ago, and I can't remember who they played last week, but all been 14-point favorites, and then Vegas comes out with a 10.5-point line. I know the public's got to be all over Georgia. Tennessee, I think they keep it close. I think Georgia wins by 7 points or 10 points, but Tennessee's coming out playing ball like they did in the first half against Alabama.
Yeah, I could. They're going to have to. But they also, remember now, Auburn also just about beat Georgia earlier this year. And Georgia's a great football team. But I just think at some point they're going to struggle. I don't think they'll lose. But and if I'm wrong and they get blown out, that's fine because we could use that, right? They're back to number 1 now in the college football playoff rankings. So that'll be it'll be loud in there. It'll be tough, but I'm with you on that one. All right, what's next?
And Georgia beat the hell out of Ole Miss last week. That's
yeah.
I mean, UNC Clemson. What do you know about UNC? Because I haven't watched UNC much at all this year.
I watched them beat Duke last week, and they're good. You know, they're good. Their quarterback's NFL guy. They throw the ball. Duke got ahead. They kept coming back. Like they're a tough team. They got a decent defense. Maybe underachieved a little bit, but if they win this game, all of a sudden it's like, I think they've only lost a couple games this year. And then Clemson, ever since Tyler from Spartanburg called and basically questioned Dabo, they've played like a team that gives a shit. Like they've come out and they've come out swinging.
Tyler from Spartanburg has revived that program.
He has. He has. We should have him on our podcast. What's the line? Well, you're going to ask me what. So is it at Clemson or North Carolina?
It's at Clemson.
At Clemson. Clemson's, I'm going to say like a 5.5-point favorite.
6.5.
Okay. I'm taking Clemson.
Okay. I think we're aligning this weekend. Kansas State, Kansas.
I saw this. They're both ranked, and they're both like sneaky good. And what's crazy is like, since when has football in Kansas been worth a shit like this? But they're actually two pretty good football teams. I don't know anything about either one of them, though. I just know that that Kansas and Kansas State both have like kind of pushed teams to the limit, and they're both, I think, 7-3. I don't know enough to even say who would win. I'd probably take the home team, but I mean, I'm talking. It's a flip of the coin for me.
So Kansas State is favored by 8 playing at Kansas. Both pretty similar teams, 8-point line. Not knowing a ton about either team, I think I got to go with Kansas State here. I think Vegas is begging you to take Kansas.
Yeah, and that's what I would do. They'd beg me, and I'd nod my head. I'm taking the home dog. I love home dog. But that's been my formula forever. I would say, like, go with the home dog. All right, especially in a rivalry game. All right, what's next?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take this one because I'm going to go ahead and tell you that Washington's getting their first loss this weekend.
A lot of people are saying that. Washington is playing at Oregon State, and they're an underdog. It's a 2.5-point spread in this game. I've looked at this one. I'm going
to look at something. I'm going to see where the public is on this game. But you keep talking.
No, okay, yeah. I've heard everyone say, and everyone that I know is saying, no, they're going to lose this week. They're going to lose. There's got to be some upsets. They're going to lose. I don't know. I mean, I think it is weird that Oregon State is favored against a team that's undefeated, but they've had a great year too. And what's crazy is that Oregon State could come in and just ruin the whole Pac-12 this year because they also play Oregon, and they could win that game as well. So I would. Washington's just won so many big games. They got a lot of help from the officials last week. DJ, we know him from Clemson. I don't know. I'm not betting against Washington. I'd take Washington. Take the points.
Oh. All right. So, I mean, man, it just doesn't take any balls to take Washington this week. You know, they are playing at Oregon State.
You get 2.5 points.
Oh, I know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, doesn't take any nuts to take Washington in my opinion. You know, I'd feel pretty nervous about laying $15,000 on Oregon State.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find this game. Hang on one second. Well, I'll find it at some point, but I have to believe that the public is all over Oregon or Washington this weekend.
I mean, that probably the same thought process. I mean, I would love to see selfishly Oregon State win, but Washington's they're having a magical season right now. They're going to be tough. They're going to be tough to beat.
But they have almost lost to some pretty bad Arizona State. They almost lost to Arizona State. They almost lost to USC. They almost lost to who was that? They lost to somebody else. I mean, they beat them by like 3 points. It was similar to Arizona State. Losing record. It's kind of like I mean, they rely entirely on their offense, and if Penix doesn't show up for one game, then they're in a lot of trouble.
Right, or if he gets nicked up or banged up, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, they're complete reliance on him, and again, if they do end up making it to the playoff, they're going to have a hard time competing against the Alabamas, Georgias, you know, the better teams, Michigan, Ohio State. All right, Texas, Iowa State.
Yeah, Texas going to Iowa State. They've lost there before. There's, I guess there's a chance, or maybe Quinn Ewers is back for this football game. This isn't the Iowa State from a couple years ago, but they're always tough. I feel like Texas could lose, but they're not going to. Texas is going to win this football game. And I think the spread's like, isn't it like maybe like 7, 6.5, 7?
7.5.
Yeah, it's like right in there. Yeah, 7.5. So you get 7.5. I might still take Iowa State, but Texas wins.
That's what. So I'm looking at these percentages, and the public is all over Iowa State, which I would think that Iowa State playing at home historically, I feel like, I mean, they seem to always upset people at home at least once during the year. Mm-hmm. Again, this isn't the same Iowa State we've seen over the last couple of years. I mean, they've been ranked here and there over the last few years. Had somewhat of a down year in comparison to their standards. But, you know, seeing these percentages, 75% on Iowa State, makes me think Texas. I think I'm going to go Texas this weekend.
But look, it would be great to be wrong on some of these. I mean, can you imagine having those teams out of the way, having them out of the way? Alabama wins every week and they can't get past number 8, which is crazy to me. Can you imagine? Like, what year has this ever happened? You lose a game, second game of the season, and then you go up like two spots, and you won every game. You're starting to kick everybody's ass, and you still two spots.
Just imagine if this was a BCS year.
Oh man,
it would be mayhem. I mean, we had 1 year like that. When LSU went with a loss as the first team to go with a loss in years. Hopefully this all ends with the 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
I mean, surely you can't have, that kind of parity with that amount of teams in it. But, I've always said, usually there's three teams, and out of the 3, there's usually 2 dominant ones. But this year, kind of hard to find those teams that set themselves apart from the top 5, top 6, and this year top 8.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, if these teams don't lose, I mean, you're talking about rivalry week and championship week. Alabama could be out looking in.
The greatest implications ever in college football will be, next week and the week after that.
Yeah.
There will be so much riding on those games played in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I really. It's hard to look at Chattanooga and Auburn, knowing that we've got Georgia in 3 weeks.
I know you're right, but you don't ever.
Hey, I'm not playing anymore. I can do that.
But next week, man, you don't ever want to lose to them. It's a great season when you beat them. It's the best feeling. Is like when you guys. I was there when they all realized I remember going into the game 2015. This is it. We'll just talk a little Auburn, Alabama, just to give people a taste. And then we're finished for the night. I remember going in and I'm at all the tailgates and they're like, "Oh, we're terrible. Alabama's gonna." They always do that down there, and because they're good. They'll have a good team like one every 4 years, really good.
That's what the little brother does. That's what you know what? If you beat me, you're supposed to beat me anyway.
That's right.
And then that one time the little brother gets the best of his older brother. You never hear the end of it.
That's right. And I'm walking in, and they play that all. They play it all coy. Like, oh man, we don't really have a good football team this year. Y'all are going to whoop us real good, And then you get in there, and it's like it's so loud, and it's just like it's a concrete jungle, which I don't even know if they could afford to build that stadium now with all that concrete, as much as prices have gone up on concrete, right?
And they've watered down the stadium, make it nice and slick. They know Derek's coming to town. Freaking, I don't know if you remember that, but it was ridiculous. It was like, I went as a recruit. I went to an Auburn, West Virginia game, and I've never seen it rain that hard, during my 17 years of life. And they had that thing as dry as could be. They're talking about the irrigation system or the drainage system under the field. And it hadn't rained in like a month before I came there as a senior in college to play Auburn. You'd have thought Hurricane Katrina just rolled through that damn place. You're like, what the hell's going on? And they were up to something. Anyway, they'll have that same trick next Saturday. It'll be the same deal, and whatever. Auburn will be Auburn.
No, and you'll be able to see it on the world's largest jumbotrons. And we're in there. No, I know. You pull out all the tricks in the book, and then you act coy. You water the field excessively if you have to, and then when the game starts and they have a chance, and then they start getting confident, and then they're talking all their shit. Then they talk all the shit, and then Derek, you guys unleashed Derrick Henry. There was you threw one pass that changed the entire game. It's been so long now, and I haven't gone back and watched it, but I feel like I remember you threw a pass, and then all of a sudden after that, Derrick Henry just train rolled those guys.
There was there was a touchdown pass to Ardarius Stewart.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
I want to say mid third quarter. It's kind of funny. We had a naked bootleg. I saw a guy coming off the edge. We were supposed to run the play fast. I was like, oh God, I see him coming. I know I got to avoid him when I fake the handoff and turn around. Of course, I fake the handoff, turn around. He's right there. Luckily, I get around him and I'm looking downfield, and here comes another guy, and I get around him and I see Ardarius. We had talked about it, during that week. Like if I get out, try to, get downfield or do something, I'm gonna be looking for you, try to get you the ball. So it all worked out. He's in the end zone, he catches it, and we're celebrating. I get back to the sideline, and after I'm sitting there for a few minutes, Alec Morris comes up to me, and Alec he signaled in all the plays, and he was one of our quarterbacks, great guy, great player, and he comes up, he sits next to me, he goes, "Man, you better be glad you threw a touchdown there." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh God, if you could have just heard what Coach Saban was saying on that mic while you were dancing around back there." He was like, he said, Coach Saban was like, "Throw the ball away, you dumbass motherfucker." and I throw the ball and it's a touchdown, and he goes, Coach Saban just went dead silent, and he just goes, all right, we'll go for one here. He said, like, I had to almost take the earphones off. He was cussing you so bad.
God love Nick Saban. Like Tua said, you saw what Tua, I think it was on Dan Patrick. He's like, I throw the touchdown to win the championship. I see him after the game, and he's talking to him about that play, and Tua's trying to kid with him, and he's not kidding. Like, why'd you do that? Like,
he says,
hey, coach, we just needed more room. Like, no, seriously.
Why'd you take the sack? I needed more room.
He's like, coach, we just needed more room. Like why'd you do that? Man, Saban's the best, man. You have to be. He's wired different. He's wired different. You got to be wired different to be that way.
Oh yeah,
no doubt.
Oh yeah, he's a guy that hates losing more than he likes winning. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, brother. Have a great weekend. Let's get back together next week on this. You guys hanging out with us. Make sure that if you're getting your picks together, Lance's Lock.com. He's going to help you with college football as it goes down the stretch. He's definitely got his fingers on the pulse of all of these games going on. At college basketball. Right now is a great time to do college basketball because so many of the guys out in Vegas, the handicappers, are spending their time looking at college football and the NFL. You can kind of sneak in about this time right now on some of these college basketball games, but you got the NFL, you got the NBA. I watched a little NBA, surprisingly or not, last night in the cabin. All that's going on right now, Lance's Lock and lanceslock.com. And if you need a place to lay those wagers, don't forget that the place to do it is mybookie.ag. You can take all of those games and you can put your money down there as well. And for your deposit, that first deposit, mybookie.ag, they'll give you the double the money back, right? So it's like up to $1,000. They'll match that money that you put down. So check out MyBookie. He's Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Disrupt the Media, Roll Tide Pods, Elephant in the Room. We'll talk to you guys next week.